Legacy of the Void anniversary event hosted by ESL. So let's go ahead and jump into it and find out who our next qualifier is going to be as we spawn up here in the top right-hand corner of the map atop the red Protoss player. It is Riper.
And his opponent at the bottom right-hand corner, the Bang Terran player, Clare. Just got to point out, not only are we on our 12th plus hour of casting, but 2 days ago I got my wisdom teeth removed. So I've been casting in pain this entire time.
Oh my god, why would you do that to yourself?
It just happened to line up, and I was like, oh crap, I'm not backing out. I don't back out once I've made commitments, man.
Oh man, that sounds intense. It sounds like mistakes were made.
So many mistakes were made, man. I love also, I just pointed out to you, the chat was like, you guys seem confused. And like, damn right I'm confused.
I mean, okay, let's be honest. I don't care if I've been casting for 12 hours or I've been casting for like 10 minutes. If you've seen some of the games we've seen today, we're literally 3 DTs killed around 40 workers. Like, you would be confused too.
Yeah, it's just been painful, guys. But honestly, I'll step it up. If anytime you criticize me, I instantly am like, crap, Tim, pull yourself together, man. It may be 1 AM in the morning, but you gotta pull yourself together. Clare doing the Reaper Fast expand, which, as I've always mentioned, is quite viable after the new mule patch. While Riper, I don't know how I want to say that name, but Riper, whatever. Looks like he's gonna go for that aggression again. No natural base plan, at least at the moment. Early probe scout. But you could go the Gate Cyber Gate. Now though, it looks going to be the Gate Cyber.
You know what I've just been thinking about? In Legacy of the Void, it's a lot harder. You have a lot less signals about where the Chrono Boost has been spent as a Terran player or, you know, Zerg player, whatever player. When you're scouting against your Protoss opponent, you can't judge things like they're saving up Chrono Boost, or, you know, it looks like they have more workers, or, you know, that Cybernetic core has been Chrono Boosted a lot. It's a lot harder to get those kind of tells, I think. Oh my god. Can you even open Reaper and get any kind of useful scouting information anymore with Photon Overcharge and Pylons?
Well, the funny thing is, it's almost like even without the Photon Overcharge and Pylons, the scouter to the main, what would have realistically saw besides this Stargate that went down after it? Like, it would have saw nothing.
No, I think it could have seen a couple of things. If there's a second gateway, I think that you do need to be a lot more careful about some kind of Adept all-ins that could always happen. And I think you also scouting out the natural expansion is pretty nice.
Yeah, I guess you're right. If you do get it out, though, you do have some more later game scouts you can possibly get out. But as Protoss, I've found out, I mean, you can squeeze out a Robo with the Stargate. You can squeeze out the 4s like we're seeing out of Riper, whatever. This is a best of 5, though, guys, so we're in for a long night. Well, Oracle is on the way.
Yeah, Oracle's on the way, but this Stalker already doing some really, really nice damage, and this is kind of just that typical, you know, Heart of the Swarm, Wings of Liberty. You use the Stalker and micro against a bunch of Marines, and it's just being as effective as it always has been. Of course, now finally being chased down to the low ground, not going to really have the opportunity to do that same kind of harassment to these Marines, but softening up any Marines is always a very useful thing to do when you have an Oracle following it up. Those Marines potentially still going to be juicy targets for the Oracle, but just a couple too many Marines for that Oracle to really take those guys on a head-on fight. Really just going to be looking for those worker kills.
Yeah, definitely. Trying to get any kills anywhere it can.
No?
Riper, looks like he will go into the main, and there's nothing ready quite for it, and there's the Pulsar beam going down. Should be able to deal with it. Stim is still about a minute off, and I mean, it's going to be hard to deal as these Marines to actually get rid of this. Oh,
I think the Oracle just runs out of energy after murdering an entire mineral line, and then runs out without losing too much health. I was going to say any health, but
it's like he goes back to base. Yeah, he goes back to base. Yeah, I beat all of them. You mean all of them? Yeah. All of them.
Oracle number 2, unfortunately, does get picked off by the Marines, or fortunately, if you're a big Clare fan, and that missile turret should be finishing up well in time for any kind of additional Oracles coming out. But there's no additional Oracles coming out. In fact, we have a Void Ray coming out, as well as the shield upgrade from this Twilight Council. So we're going to be seeing a bit of a transition over toward more Adepts, but the Void Ray is throwing me for a little bit of a loop.
My guess is it would be something like anti-bunker if we see kind of a bunker siege tank composition from Claire. Maybe my kind of doing a little bit more mech heavy, which I don't know why you do versus Protoss, but still, maybe you can do that in. I'm guessing it would be a bust if he makes a second or third Void Ray, and there's a second Void Ray. I'm gonna say he's actually gonna go for a 2-base all-in off the back of this. That would look interesting. Adept Shields is coming down, and Riper is, I'm gonna say, a 2-base all-in versus what Claire is doing. One thing I'd like to point out for Claire is I really see now in a lot of TVT that the 3 racks with 1 factor 1 starport, at least in Legacy of the Void, is pretty much the optimal count. Like 4 gates off of 1 base, 6 to 8 off 2 base for Protoss, but like really that seems optimal just macro wise as a Terran player.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting to see how that all ends up balancing out. He did end up, or I should say Claire ended up throwing down the scan on top of the Void Ray. So he does know that the Void Ray is out, and he knows that there's at least one. He didn't quite see the second one as it popped out, but Claire going to be very aggressive out onto the map, moving out very early on. There's not that big of an army over here for Riper. This could be a really golden opportunity over here for Claire to honestly just stomp over this army. Like, there's really not a whole lot here.
Yeah, the force fields will push back 2 siege tanks here, but that's not what he needs to worry about. The Marines are focusing down the Void Rays, and really optimally here, you need a photon overcharge. You need something like that to start coming down, but the Mothership Core, oh, there's the snipe, and I think it's GG. Claire may take this right here, right now, but still reinforcing pretty well.
Yeah, it's not over just yet. A lot of the units for Claire have been picked off, and some great focus fire came out from Riper on top of the siege tanks from Claire, to making sure that, you know, some of those power units aren't quite there, just continuously DPS down everything. So only Marines really left over, and honestly, even with the Mothership Core being picked off, I think that Riper still has an opportunity to make some magic happen.
Yeah, he did get 16 kills earlier on with those the Oracles, but now Riper. There, he pulls back, but not after the 3rd base is taken out. I'd love to see it drop into the main. Oh, that will not be the situation. Just pulling back, still Marines of Claire kind of moving out. We've seen this a couple times from him. Yeah. There, he will regroup, and I would have liked to see it drop back into the main, but Riper's just right off the back of that, bouncing off and
I think Riper also had a couple of units that were ready over the main base. He had 4 or 5 Adepts in the main base. He also had a second Void Ray over there. And this Void Ray, once again, moving in. Not going to be activating its beam until just now. Focus firing down that siege tank a little bit on the later side. But, I mean, these Adepts in a large enough number that they can just murder this Marine count. And, oh my god, Riper going to be able to push on in despite the fact that he ended up losing so much earlier on. Just has such an overwhelming number of Adepts now that just the pure Marine force, not going to be too effective from Claire. He's really going to be relying on those siege tanks coming out.
Yeah, but there's only 1 siege tank out at the moment, and Adept shields. There's Guardian shield coming down from the center. The 2 Void Rays will be able to focus down some random units here, but man, the power of the Adept is just unknown. GG. I take back everything I said about Riper, taking it right there. I thought he could stem into the natural, take out some probes, but oh, power of GG.
It was a
power
really huh? What were you saying?
Power of Adept.
Oh, power of Adept, yeah. I mean, the Adept did show to be
the power of typing GG.
But, you know, I would say that there's a lot of kind of subtle micro that Riper was doing in that. He was making sure that his Adepts were attacking the Marines and not just attacking like whatever the siege tanks or Marauder was in the front. He was making sure that the Void Ray was target firing down and using the prismatic alignment on the siege tanks. He was getting good positioning. He was throwing up Guardian Shield versus the massive Marine army at the beginning of the fight, keeping the Mothership Core alive until like the later end, until, you know, after everything else had been sniped off and was able to throw down the photon overcharge. So he was doing a lot of really good, important micro things to stay alive in that game, and even also like later on to just absolutely storm over his opponent. So I'm gonna say that I think Riper did a really nice job with that game. Not just like making units.
Yeah, I feel like Claire could have gone for another drop in the main, possibly holding back Riper a little to allow him to attain the siege tank counts like you were talking about what it needed to defend, but in the end, not what happened. Game 2, guys, this best of 5 is going to be Orbital Shipyard.
Indeed, Protoss versus Terran, still a very fun matchup in my mind. One of my favorite matchups to watch, and don't think I'm going to be getting tired of it anytime soon. But again, winners bracket finals. The winner of this series is going to move on and qualify for the anniversary tournament that's going to be happening over in October when those group stages start off. But, you know, loser of this is still going to have an opportunity, but they're going to have to win the losers bracket finals to actually qualify. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Going to have to play that one extra match and wait around for those matches to catch up. But let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players to find out who is going to have that guaranteed spot after this series. As we spawn up here in the top right-hand side of the map, Orbital Shipyard on top of the red Protoss player. Currently up 1-0, it's Riper.
And his opponent, bottom left-hand corner, the pink Terran player, Clare. Currently up, actually no, currently down a game, best of 5, but they still got the wiggle room. They still got a lot of room to work with in this best of 5 series for the $1,000 tournament, which will be coming up, as you mentioned, in October.
$2,000 actually, so much money. $1,000 just for first place, and $500 for second place, $250 for third and fourth place. So hard not to walk away pretty happy from that if you manage to get top 4.
I always love the tournaments in any sport, whatever, where you just like, oh yeah, it's kind of hard to walk away with no money. Like, it's actually kind of hard to be last place unless you're last place. What are the odds? You're like, what are the odds really? But Riper opening up with double assimilator, looks like he's going to be pretty aggressive. I'd guess Stargate again, but we have seen pretty unique Adept builds being pushed out recently.
Yeah, a lot more gas being mined over here in this opening from Riper. Having all, 5 guys on gas right now before the Cyberdark core is even being thrown down. So might be going into a slightly faster Oracle build or some kind of faster tech. I mean, we've seen Dark Templar be pretty gosh darn effective against Terran players who do not get up that nice and fast orbital and start saving up those scans. Actually, we've seen some really unfortunate scan timings where a Terran player will scan the Dark Shrine and just be like, now that I've scanned that you are going for the Dark Shrine, I don't actually have a response to the Dark Shrine anymore. And then they just start losing SCVs left and right. It's like, oh, the irony. You've just sealed your fate by discovering what your fate was.
Yeah, it was awkward games. Very, 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 very awkward games. No, though Clare, I mean, I guess Clare hopes to find a Dark Shrine. We'll have to see. The Reaper is on the way to the natural base, or at least the main base of Riper. Will be met by this with this mothership core, which, just to note, starts off with 50 energy. So 2 photon overcharges right off the bat with a newly made mothership core. So might not be a bad idea to lose one and then remake it, but there it is. Instantly, dang. I'm just thinking of the possibilities with these Reapers. As you mentioned last game, you even have the chance, like, can you even defend it?
Well, your Reaper dies in 2 shots, so I think that if you are, unless you're on the outer edge of the pylon, you just will always lose the Reaper. Like, unless you're doing some mad juking and running away from the mothership core, I don't think that it's even worth opening up Reaper anymore. That's kind of how I'm feeling about it. But
yeah, that may be the situation here. I'd liked if that was the case. Oh, that stalker will move up the ramp. It's got to be really careful, but yeah. I'd like if that was the case, only because that would provide a lot more multitude of builds, or at least earlier builds for Terran. Probably mainly CC first, whatever. But Clare getting into that nice 3-rack economy. A Riper over here on the other hand looks like no starport and no robotics facility yet. Looking like it's going to stick to gateway pretty much for him. What do you think for Clare, though?
Well, we had double forge going down much earlier on for Riper, and that double forge is going to be very, very effective at just getting out massive upgrades. And the interesting thing now is that Chrono Boost, even though it doesn't provide quite the same benefit that it used to, it's still going to be pretty gosh darn effective. And if he decides to just throw down each one of those Chrono Boosts from his main and his natural nexus on each one of these forges, he can have 100% continuous Chrono Boosting on those upgrades. That's actually a little bit crazy to think about. It's a continuous Chrono Boost. So
it was nerfed though from a 50% to 25%. Right. Increase.
Exactly.
So, not quite as good, but still pretty darn good, man. That means if it's 100 seconds, it's only going to be 75 seconds overall.
Yeah, with the forges coming out this early, I almost still wonder, like, it's continuous Chrono Boost, and there's no way that you would have saved up that much Chrono Boost to Chrono Boost both of these forges all the way through. I still feel like +1/+1, if you immediately just throw down your Chrono Boost on both of these forges, I think you still get it out earlier than you ever could have before, even with the nerf to Chrono Boost. I'm not 100% sure about that. I need to do the math on it, though.
You better do that math. For now, though, Blink 1-1 is pretty close, and the DT Shrine for Riper, so looking like he likes that. He is up 1 game in this best-of-3 series, and honestly, those Adepts just are so good. I don't know why he's not making it, but over here for Clare, like... Clare's just getting a pretty standard mech army up. +1 is on the way. I'd maybe like to see a quick third for Clare, but he has shown that he likes the aggression. He likes the quick aggression.
Yep, has a medevac out and is finally going to have the opportunity to maybe put on some of that aggression. I don't even know why these Marines... Oh, I guess Marines softened up from those initial stalker shots, but unsieging up, and ooh, this could be a little bit deadly, as I think that Clare is looking like he wants to move out, potentially out into the map, or just down to the 3rd expansion. That might not be quite as bad, but if he moves out into the map, this could be very, very poorly timed with the 2 DTs now making their way into the natural expansion. Even with the missile turret there, those 2 DTs can murder that missile turret very quickly.
I mean, what we've been seeing today is practically that missile turret being like a spore crawler, and it just picks up and walks away from the DTs. like that's the easiest way to describe how painful it's been. But for now,
good
beautiful. Clare here actually only loses 2 workers, I think.
Yep, DTs are going to be picked up over to the Warp Prism. Gonna have to be a little bit careful, as that Warp Prism is a little bit vulnerable, but I don't think the Marines have quite realized it just yet. Missile turret does get taken out, but Scan gets thrown down and takes out all of those DTs. Warp Prism escapes with its life intact, but losing all the DT is going to be very, very frustrating, especially since the missile turrets are still alive, besides the one at the natural expansion.
Oh, Warp Prism will go down. 1 DT is still there, and you know what? He'll continue on the passion of the death. But I like how when we were first loading into this tournament and getting ready, a lot of people were saying that see some like kind of home players and see the Malaysian scene strategy. Well, man, you guys are cheesy. You guys are cheesy freaks. Everybody DT rushes.
Hey man, I don't think that's actually just Malaysia right now. I think that might be a little bit more global, just with how good DTs kind of feel.
Don't you insinuate things about me? Hey, don't you do that?
I mean, DTs honestly feel like a really, really strong strategy with how orbital commands and scans work and how expensive they are. Obviously, we didn't really see it work out too well in this particular game, but you know, I think if you had played a little bit more conservatively and just picked up with the DTs and left with the Warp Prism instead of warping in more and kind of overstaying his welcome a little bit, I think it actually would have worked out really, really well. And he could have come back in a little bit later on, could have made them into Archons, and still been in a decent spot.
Yeah, definitely. Could have been a little more conservative, pulled back, try to do more. For now, though, who's not being conservative at all is the Clare. Looking for a 3rd base to try to cancel it. Won't be any 3rd base to cancel, sadly. But Riper, I mean, Storm on the way, Archon, this is really the time for Clare to hit. While all these upgrades are finishing, Storm is not quite done, and this is where Clare just wants to get rid of these rocks, push up on the 3rd, hopefully be able to kill it. Riper does he even have charge in this main force? No. This is a lot of Zealots and no charge at all. Not even researching it yet.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a scary situation over here for Riper, especially with the Nexus now under fire. He does have a couple High Templars, but neither of them have enough energy for Storm, much less actually have Storm research. They're going to have enough energy in a little bit, but he's got to buy a couple more seconds, and now he should have it. He can start to zone out with those, but oh, this is still a very, very awkward situation.
High Templar does go down with that, and there are enough for, I guess, for the Storm, but nothing actually in the general vicinity to be able to do that on. Even though the Marines, those quick Marines have been cleaned up, remember, Medevac still can transfer siege tanks. Actually, there's a drop in the main that we've been paying attention to, my bad. But Medevacs can still pick up siege tanks, so you could just very well drop back into the main if you wanted to.
Well, DT is going to still be very, very effective at cleaning up those drops. And the drop in the main base does get cleaned up over there. Storm does go down, try and zone out Clare's units. And the Marines have been thinned out to a small enough number. And it looks like he's going to be on an all-out retreat. Clare does not have anything besides these siege tanks to really defend himself. And those siege tanks, great in combination with a handful of Marines. Not so great when they're all by their lonesome.
Yeah, but in some situations they can start to be as great just by themselves because of that medevac movement while they're sieging, do a lot of stuff. For now, though, we see them moving out, and actually Riper is trying to do a counterattack. That will be a Zealot counterattack into the third base, but that doesn't matter right now because the Zealots actually may catch all these siege tanks out of position, but there is no charge, nothing to actually allow the Zealots to get around and behind the siege tanks. Only 3 get away in that entire army, but they will meet up with a fantastic Marine force. Currently, 1-1 upgrades are finished. Concussive shells, combat shield, and stim pack is done, and really, what does Riper have to defend? As we saw earlier on, a really quick 2-2 upgrade.
You know, I think the Riper's still in a decent spot, even without charge actually there. Oh, Archon does end up falling, and okay, going down the ramp into this location, probably not going to be the most ideal situation, especially with no storms available, so he's doing an okay job, and with some photon overcharges on these pylons, he may be able to hold on a little bit longer, but I don't know how much I like the fact that he just charged in there down the ramp into the siege tanks.
Yeah, definitely for a second right there, it was looking really good, but without charge, he was unable to actually shut them down. So for now, it's not really going to be able to deal with that. Clare, up 1 game, by the way. Or sorry, Riper up 1 game in this best of 5 series at the moment.
But I mean, it's been the Riper has his 3rd expansion and everything, but at the same time, he keeps trading out all of these expensive units versus, oh my god, Clare going for the Doom Drop. Hold whatever the thought I was about to say, just because I think that this could be a really scary situation over here. There are a couple high Templars
though.
Feedbacks go down on some of them, but not the actual, none of the medevacs that end up going down actually had any units inside of them. And now this is possibly one of the most awkward places to try and have to defend in your own main base or your own natural expansion, especially with charge slots.
I like the photon overcharges though, but especially as you were mentioning, with those key units being killed, there's not a lot that can actually really be done to defend it. GG. Riper forgot charge, yeah man.
Got it toward the end over there, and he's gonna have to tap out. Clare even up the series 1-1.
Riper would have had it though, I presume, with that build when Clare actually started to move out to attack his 3rd base. So I don't know. We'll see how that cleaned up. I'm getting pretty darn tired here. I think you are too.
Well, hopefully we'll be jumping into game number 3 relatively shortly, as it's going to be a pretty interesting game number 3, just because we've seen a pretty wide variety in terms of how these games have gone. Game number 1, I think, oh man, what happened in game number 1? We had Ruins of Servas? Or
yeah, Ruins of Saras, and it was like a Marine siege tank push, and then it was rebuked by just a lot of Adepts, and the Adepts just kind of moved across the map.
Yeah, a really interesting defense in game number 1 with the Void Rays, target firing down the siege tanks are really good. I think the Voiders are a good adaptation to seeing those siege tanks, but we're starting to see that the siege tanks weren't just a one-off thing. It's something that Clare is going for repeatedly, going for it in game number 1, going for it in game number 2, and I wouldn't be very surprised to see him go for it again in game number 3. And it's one of those things where going for charge kind of important if you're up against those massive number of siege tanks and you get so many of those zealots. Honestly, I think that if Riper had gotten charge earlier on, that game would have looked very different. Those defenses would have looked much easier.
Yeah, definitely. That it was just chargeless, couldn't do anything really to utilize it or finish up it. There was a couple situations where, I mean, it looked fantastic, but couldn't quite go down. Guys, game 3, currently 1-1, is going to be on Ruins of Saras. The TVP, and honestly, we've seen a lot of variation tonight. I've been really excited about that.
Wait a second. Wasn't this the map for game number 1?
It was. No, it was not. It was not. It was not. Because the Adepts went from the top right hand to the bottom right hand, but it was not somehow. It's not this base. It did not look the same.
Okay. I must just be remembering it wrong, but regardless, we're going to be jumping into game number 3 as we hop in and introduce the players. Spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Protoss player, still tied up 1-1 after winning game number 1 and losing game number 2. It is Riper.
Did you say spawning duck?
Spawning up. spawning
Oh,
up here.
I was like, what? And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, the pink Terran player. Guys, put your hands together for Clare. Both of these players hailing from Malaysia.
And every time I hear you introduce Clare, all I can think about is just Bill Cosby saying Claire Huxtable and like calling out her name when one of the kids on the Cosby Show are like causing trouble.
Can't really do it.
It's the only thing I can hear when you introduce the word, introduce Clare. But is
Clare.
That guess first from Clare?
I really could not tell you. You got to be a lot more attention. I got to pay a lot more attention to Legacy of the Void than Heart of the Swarm.
I'm pretty sure it is a gas first over here from Clare. So it's gonna again open up the opportunities for additional openings, and once again, going for the Reaper opening. I don't know how much I like it anymore. Again, it's just one photon overcharge, and if you are anywhere remotely even within, I want to say like 4 range of the pylon, if you're within 4 to 5 range of the pylon, I think that you lose the Reaper 100% of the time.
Yeah, pretty close to that. And not only that, but when the Mothership Core first pops out, it's already got 2 photon cannon potential. Got 50 energy on it, so it can just... It can easily defend whatever it needs to. It really just depends. Yeah, it really depends on your SimCity as a Protoss player, but it pays for itself quite easily.
Actually, that's the funny thing, is that, you know, it's not exactly 1 energy per second, but approximately, you can kind of generalize it to like approximately 1 energy per second. And the Mothership Core, the photon overcharge will last about 21 seconds, which means that your photon overcharge will last almost as long as it takes for you to get another photon overcharge.
And you start off with 2, so I mean, yeah. There's so many possibilities, honestly, you can do with it. And then recall is only 50 energy itself.
Yeah, it's one of the nice kind of little buffs that they gave it in Legacy of the Void. So we'll see if any Protoss players will ever make use of that in today's games. But for now, not really needing to. Just saying, okay, there's the Reaper. I think this Reaper's dead.
Yep.
Didn't even really get much of a scout off, honestly.
Just blown away.
Did it see
it's honestly like... Oh, like CC first, man. Especially on a map like this, maybe you gotta be a little scared, but just do the CC first.
Yeah, seriously, just scout out with your SCV or something. It's about as effective, but honestly, I don't even know if he actually saw the robotics facility. He saw that like a building was building there, but the Reaper popped up to the high ground and back down to the low ground so quickly. I can't really guarantee that he even clicked on it and saw what was actually building. All he saw was, hey, there's a Protoss building that's making right there.
Yeah. And definitely it's a little bit iffy at the moment for our Terran player, Clare, but still, they're playing like he has in every single other game, getting up at 3 racks production factory and then into the starport. And really, I mean, honestly, it's gone one way in game 1, one way in game 2. They've evened it up 1-to-1, so it's not like it hasn't worked. Definitely, you could use some of the newer units and really utilize them well. Really, only the Liberator, I guess, for Terran, but still,
you know what
I think
I've seen from Protoss players, and it's something that I hope Riper does, is just doing these proxy pylons that are a little bit more hidden. Obviously, not like super far out in front, but these kind of hidden proxy pylons that he has down over here in the bottom left. And yes, you build the gateway there to make your warp-ins just go that much faster. The warp-ins come so much quicker, and it's honestly, I think that it might end up being worth it if you're going to go for these heavy aggression builds, as we end up seeing Riper very clearly doing, just going for a lot of Adepts over here.
And honestly, I mean, against anyone else who's not Protoss, you can honestly outproduce them off 2 bases and do it pretty well with gateways. And the very first time I played Legacy of the Void with that change, I can't remember what I did. I think I did like a 2-stalker all, or I did like a blink stalker all in PvP. And man, like I could have won it so many times, but 16-second warp, and it didn't quite occur to me until afterwards that I was like, oh, I needed a gateway there.
I can't count the number of times I've accidentally, you know, had a green warp-in field where I can warp in 2 seconds available, but it doesn't occur to me, and I start the warp-in, I'm like, oh god. oh god, this warp is going to take 16 seconds. And then you just end up losing the game or losing some vital part about the game, losing a Nexus or something. But, well, Guardian Shield being thrown down. I don't know how much I like the fact that he's just running in here without using the Adept ability to get on top of the siege.
I don't know.
Much better off.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with you. That'd have been a good idea, but just shows Adepts can like run head on in and still kill a siege tank.
Well, I don't know. Like, okay, this is a much better use, I feel, and now you can try and target fire down the siege tanks if you want to, but I think he's lost too many over here. I don't know how much I like the position of this push anymore, especially since now this army for Clare is going to be able to move out, and if he moves up to the high ground, he can snipe off the pylon or the gateway. Oh, honestly, both, but there goes that kind of nice proxy pylon positioning. No more warpins, no more reinforcements that come easily.
Yeah, the first Adept attack didn't really get as much as Riper would want out of it, but it's kind of like a thing I like to see more and more, just the depths of splitting them up, and honestly, because you can cancel that Ghost, that Shade, as the Terran player, as the Protest Zerg, whoever's defending has to be careful about if they go to try to defend the Shades or if they go kill the Adepts, and it really makes your opponent decide where you can just say it's all up to you. So they're really versatile to do that, and they actually may be able to do some damage to this army if they can pick off units at the back or at the front for now. Viper's trying to dash home before Clare can.
Ooh, yeah, Riper gonna be pushed all the way back over into his natural expansion. Throw down a preemptive photon overcharge just to try and make sure that he doesn't miss out on his opportunity to do so later on. There are the medevacs over here though, and that does allow him to just elevator these Marines up into the main base as well as the siege tanks actually. Oh, this could be a really devastating situation for Riper. Oh no, the Mothership Core ends up going down. That's so much lost DPS.
Yeah, that is so much lost DPS for now. No more photon and overcharge. It's not really that great of pylons to really achieve that, but now the Adepts at the back of the army will be able to actually get a very nice surround on Clare's army here. The Adepts still working away on these siege tanks, not allowing the siege tanks to shell the high ground, while Riper with some very nice micro will get rid of this bio and in that I guess called the third base, may be able to pick up the siege tank.
Oh, siege tanks need to actually make the maneuver to run away. There we go. Clare gonna be able to escape finally. Adepts, fortunately for Clare, cannot actually attack up into the medevacs floating up in the air. And at the end of the day, Riper holds on, but at what cost, Drenok? Because we have a third expansion down behind this for Clare, and just adding on a ton of production facilities, getting up a fourth expansion. I really like Clare's position still a lot better than I like Riper's, even with 1-1 finished up.
Yeah, I completely agree, but this time Riper, I mean, he's got charged, maybe he can utilize that, but no Zealots out on the map. The Adepts are really what saved him right there. With that flank onto the siege tank army, it was really able to stop that going down, but Clare does not care because Clare's pushing up again. It's in a beautiful stim up into Reaper, and the Mothership Core is out. Remember, it does start with 50 energy, so it does have 2 photon overcharges if it needs to, but this time there is not the army out on the other side of the map that can kind of pull back, or at least out somewhere and can pull back and flank these siege tanks. This time, he's got to take it head on. I don't know if he can.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of splash damage from these siege tanks, and the Marine Marauder force just looks like it might be a little bit too strong. No photon overcharges available since that Mothership Core did get sniped off earlier on, and the last Immortal is going to fall, and with it, Riper's chances in that game. Clare taking game number 3, bringing the series 2-1 in favor of Clare. 1 game away from taking the victory and qualifying for the anniversary tournament out in October.
Yeah, Clare only 1 game away from that, playing really, really well. Guess that makes next game 4.
Yeah, that is math, Drenok. I know that we're tired, but that would be the correct amount of math to apply to the situation. As yeah,
to apply to the situation.
Well, Clare is finally going up for the first time in this series, up in games. I think that it started off 0-0. Then we ended up seeing Riper end up like winning the first game. Clare managed to even things up, but then Riper looked like he may have been able to get ahead with that really, really great 7-gate Adept push, especially with the extra gateway, one of the extra gateways being at a proxy
Clare,
pylon.
it's 2-2. Clare just said it's 2-2 right now, right? I don't think it is.
I don't know. Doesn't sound like Claire is actually super confident in that either. But,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know what that was. I swear Claire's up 2-1.
I'm gonna check my match history on this, but I'm pretty sure it's 2-1.
Match history doesn't load though.
Oh, really? Huh, it doesn't. That is very unfortunate. Well, I'm just gonna check my replays. That's like the equivalent of match history, I guess.
I guess you're right, yeah.
Yeah, I have 3 games with Riper versus Claire. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, unless they just played a game without us, which I don't think happened because we were casting Claire the series before that. So they must have played a very, very quick, like 2-minute game if there was a series before this.
Yeah.
But I want to.
It's kind of funny, Kat.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I
Good.
want to give a huge shout out to everyone that's actually tuning in, because I know I'm seeing a lot of the names in the chat right now, and I know a lot of them are not necessarily the Europeans that are maybe waking up around this time, or even a lot of the people from Malaysia or the C region. I see a lot of people that I even recognize from the North American region, so I know that you guys are up at like a 1:30 in the morning checking us out, so I want to give a huge shout out to everyone that's actually tuning in right now. It's a pleasure to have you guys, and hopefully we're not going too delirious from our ridiculous day of casting today.
Man, it's pretty intense. What was funny is I forgot what was funny. What was I trying to remember? I can't remember what I was trying to remember.
Man, I think you're more tired than I am.
I don't know. When did you get up? When did you sleep last night?
I think I went to bed around like 12 or 1-ish. But or no, actually, I had a really weird sleep schedule because I was doing some audio recordings for stuff, and I think I ended up going to sleep around like 2 or 3 in the morning. But I did end up getting up at like 8 or 9 today.
All right, that's good.
Yeah.
I went to bed at like 11 and got up at like 7 or 8, so we're probably about even. You probably actually have a little less sleep than me. I don't know.
Fair enough. Well,
Never do maths on stream.
We're not going to do math on stream. We're just going to say that the only math we need to do is the fact that it is currently 2-1 in favor of our Terran player. But up here in the top left-hand corner, we have the player that's currently down a game and has to win the next 2 games in a row to get that guaranteed spot in the tournament over in October. It is the Red Protoss player, Riper.
And his opponent, bottom right-hand corner, the pink Terran player, currently up 2-1. It is Clare. Did you think of it as Bill Cosby then? I don't think you could have.
Little bit, but I was more focused on the fact that it's still a little bit funny because I know a lot of people still do this. Even like pros that I see playing, they get supply block just for a little bit because they're still not used to the fact that they have to immediately start those pylons and immediately start the supply depots, and we ended up seeing Riper get a little bit supply block for just 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, always kind of funny. And I like to say, as we've gotten more tired, I feel like we've started to talk quicker in our casting. I don't know if it's just me, but maybe it's not.
I don't know, man.
Maybe it's not.
I don't have the attention span to pay attention to how fast I'm talking anymore.
Riper though.
That's all I can do.
Riper, though, opens up the 2-gate into Cyber, seeing more and more of this from the Malaysian scene at the moment, which I've never seen anything else of casted, but Claire doing another Reaper fast expanded, man, he's got to take the Fear Dragon know-how. You know, it just doesn't work. Like, I don't care what you're doing, it doesn't work.
You know what?
Once the mothership clears out,
so I'm just going to let him get away with whatever he wants to. I don't like it, but you know what? He's winning, so clearly it's not playing that big of an impact for him, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. It's his honorary tribute to his opponent. Like, here, you could have won.
Have a Reaper. Like, this could have been a faster factory. This maybe could have been, like, half of a +1 weapons upgrade, or, like, getting started on super fast upgrades with the engineering bay, but no. Here, have my Reaper. It's not that important to me. You know, one thing that I guess I could kind of see is if you get really good with the Reaper control, it is hard for a Protoss player at this point to have. They won't have more than 2 pylons. So really, there are just 2 things you have to be on the lookout for to make sure you don't end up dying to. And look at this, the Reaper is still alive, and now he gets to move around and look for proxy pylons. I actually like this a lot better.
Yeah, I do. Just making sure you know where everything is out on the map. That's something I was thinking about. Blanking on it though. It kind of sucked because it's when I was thinking about something like, ooh, that's good. I'm gonna wait till Fear Dragon's done and say it, but won't quite come to me for now. So we'll have to see. That Reaper though was get out a almost complete full scout and maybe able to flank these Adepts if that's what needs to go down. 2 Marines working away on the rocks. Actually 6 Marines total, and for Clare we'll be able to start focusing down these Adepts, but 2 Adepts do start one-shotting all these Marines, and yeah, they're actually the Adepts will push this back for now.
Yeah, these Adepts are actually having no problems whatsoever taking on those Marines in a complete man fight. As, well, I guess the Adepts are female, actually, so I guess it's not really quite so much a man fight.
Well, okay then. Whatever.
Glad we settled that sexism.
Yeah. I'm glad we did too, Fear Dragon. You know, I'm glad we did too.
Still a really weird situation over here, though, for Clare, just because I feel like Clare doesn't have that much to defend, and even with this kind of growing number of Marines, this number of Adepts, with 4 Adepts going to be out, 2-shotting each one of these Marines, yeah, really going to be relying on that Siege Tank to make this whole defense work. Siege Tank doing some nice damage, though, to one of the Adepts after those shields are gone.
Yeah, I'd like to see the Adepts maybe split 2 into the main, 2 into the natural as they do their shade, just to split the army apart and see if they can start to do damage or something, at least against Clare. You don't see any starport yet or much versus Clare, so there is harassment, there is aggression opportunity out of him, but for now, not really. Looks like it will be happening, but I guess correct, the Riper will be able to. The Reaper, not the Riper.
Well, Riper is going to be moving in with his own form of harassment in the form of that Oracle going in to the main base, but the missile turrets are already finished up at both the main and the natural expansion. In fact, the natural expansion already managed to take off the shields for this Oracle. Oracle is going to be going after some of the Marines, and hey, I mean, even if this Oracle ends up dying, I guess it's helpful to kill off some of those Marines, so the Adepts don't have to, but oh, this is not going as well as I think Riper would have hoped.
I think the Adepts actually may have been able to snipe, not the Siege Tank, but maybe the Marines there. We'll see for now, though. But for now, I mean, really, Clare, how many SCVs to lose? 11 at the natural base, and those Adepts just, again, going in for a scout. Clare is ready for it, and Riper, for now, is actually just completely pulling back. He knows he can't do much off the back of this. Is there any Robo? It's going to be Stargate still. Prelate Council with the Adept upgrades really just going to be banking off kind of the 3-base big Adept mass pushes with maybe a couple Disruptors mixed in. I like the Stasis Ward, though.
Yeah, Stasis Ward going to be a really nice tool to use over here, especially when they're right next to those kind of, oh man, what do you even call it? All I can
line
think
of sight blocker.
Line of sight blocker, yeah.
All you can think about is sleep. Be honest here, Fear Dragon.
It's definitely creeping into my mind occasionally, but I really like using it around those kind of line of sight blockers, just because it's going to be a little bit more effective to use. Actually, do Stasis Wards rely on seeing their opponent to actually trigger? Could you place one right by a line of sight blocker? Because normally one of the problems with Stasis Wards is that you only end up catching half of the army, the front part of it, and you miss out on a lot of the army. If you place it by a line of sight blocker, and it doesn't have vision over the line of sight blocker, then you could end up catching it, I guess, like more toward the center of the army and end up being way more effective with those Stasis Ward traps.
Yeah, definitely. There's the nice Revelation, or actually, I think it got renamed, did it? No, it's still Revelation, but we'll see how that actually catches units. Originally, you could manually, or you could de-auto cast it, but it gets a decent amount of the army, actually, this situation. Originally, you could either set it to auto-cast or not to auto-cast, but not the situation. Now, enough Adepts here, we'll start to just do so much damage. The Siege Tank will kill a couple of these Adept sections before it'll happen. Currently, dang,
just
Clare actually
massacre over here as the I've got to say, these Void Rays being added in are doing a lot more than I thought they would. Void Ray Adept. New composition?
I don't know, man. Void Ray is really good. It's like a Mortal Adept. It just doesn't really die to anything. Like, it just takes a while to die.
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy how fast they will also kill things just because, you know, two-shotting the Marines with the Adepts and then the Void Rays focus firing down those siege tanks. I think this has honestly been such a successful composition versus specifically what Clare has been going for that I would really like to see Riper go for this a little bit more. But SCV is being pulled off the line, Marines stimming on top of those Void Rays, and well, Adepts not actually teleporting anywhere of note, but they do manage to actually still get some nice damage done. And Medivacs having to pull up all those Marines and Marauders. I don't think that they're going to be able to save this third expansion, though. No cancel on it either.
Yeah, for now, Clare really desperately needs to fight with his siege tank. We do see Riper, taking his third base, but there's Clare finally really able to, I don't know if I'd say move out yet, but still, he's got to do something. He's either got to be really greedy or go for the attack. Looks like he's going to go for the attack, and one thing he's got to remember is you don't have to unsiege siege tanks to pick him up. He's been doing that this entire game, actually for the entire series, and it really bothers me.
I think one of the most important things that I really like about Clare's situation is just the fact that Riper doesn't really have a lot of anti-air. He had those Void Rays, but doesn't really have them anymore. So just trying to abuse that kind of vulnerability with a lot of heavy drop play, maybe with the siege tanks or anything else. Oh, it's gonna be a little bit harder over here. Oh my god, these storms are brutal, and once again this army for Clare gets massacred by the High Templars, the Void Rays, and now, or I should say the Adepts, the Void Rays, and now the High Templars.
Yeah, that storm is decimating the unupgraded army at the moment. Actually going to upgrades. Oh no, there is +1/1 for Clare here, but still not quite good enough to really be able to deal with that, especially with no splits, nothing like that. And for now, I mean, Riper's just kind of hanging back, waiting to see what he can do.
Yep.
Third base of Clare is finally being attained again, but it's at the 9-minute mark. Already the third base of Riper is 100% saturated. 3 workers in each of these simulators, 15 workers in the minerals. So this is really just a classic, okay, I'm going to starve you out. I killed your base, starve you out, kill your army. Can you remax fast enough to defend on 2 bases? I don't think so.
And these Adepts just get churned out so gosh darn quickly. I think it was a Jack Attack that said that 1 gas geyser and full saturation, 16 workers on a 1 mining base is enough to support 4 gateways worth of Adepts perfectly. Or maybe it was 3 gateways worth of Adepts, but still, that's a lot of Adepts very, very quickly. We'll end up seeing how effective these Adepts are going to be as they just managed to get a slightly better surround with the psionic transfer, but they're not even going to need it. Riper tying up the series 2-2, bringing this to an ace match.
Yep, I really liking that Adept composition. You can just do so much with it, and it just survives to so much. At first, you're like, oh, this guy's got it, but then the Adepts just don't die.
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy how much health those Adepts end up having after you get that shield upgrade that's literally titled Shield Upgrade.
Yeah. But, I'm going to be back in a minute. I got to go to the bathroom really badly.
Yeah, sure. But guys, we're going to be hopping into game number 5 in just a couple of seconds, hopefully, as I think they're trying to figure out what the final map is going to be. Claire saying that he believes it's going to be Moonlight Madness, and if that's the case, oh my god, I do feel a little bit bad for Riper, because that is a rough map to be facing off against a Terran player on. That is a very difficult map for a Protoss player to get a 3rd expansion up on, and in Legacy of the Void, you tend to take those expansions much earlier on, so it's a little bit harder to get away with just the 2-base play. But at the same time, Legacy of the Void has been playing a little bit differently, and we've been seeing some much heavier bits of aggression out of Riper rather than Clare. Clare's done little bits and attempts at drops, but none of them have been super committed drops. They haven't been these drops that are pulling Riper vastly out of position. In fact, I would say that Riper has been doing a much better job with kind of pulling his opponent out of position. And Riper may actually be able to take advantage of Moonlight Madness and the layout of it a little bit better than Clare. So kind of interested to see. It's not even so much speaking toward the actual matchup or Protoss versus Terran as a whole and how it tends to go. It's more just speaking toward how these 2 players have been playing out these series. Clare has been going for fairly immobile compositions, been getting those Marines and the Medivacs, of course, that are more mobile, but always accompanied by those siege tanks eventually, and maybe mixing in a Marauder or 2. It's a very interesting and different composition, but I don't know how much I like how much it'll end up playing out probably on Moonlight Madness. And man, do you have a urinal installed in your house? Because you came back from the bathroom really quickly.
I just drank a whole bunch of water, so I just had to pee. So I don't know.
All right. Well, I think that we're ready to hop into game number 5, Moonlight Madness.
That was such a random question. I mean,
you just got back much faster than I anticipated you to.
It was like, I know 100% fact that I don't have a urinal in my house, but
it was one of those rhetorical questions that you're just supposed to allow me to ask to make a point.
All right.
You just gotta roll with it, man. You just gotta roll with the punches. Just like, I think Clare is going to have to roll with the punches that he has constantly been thrown. Riper bringing himself back into this series. Going into game number 5. Let's go ahead and introduce the players as we spawn up here on top of the top right-hand corner. Player is the player that I just mentioned the name of. It is a Protoss player in red, Riper.
And his opponent, bottom left-hand corner, the pink Terran player, Clare. Bill Cosby enough for you?
No,
Kappa,
now you're
Kappa?
just going Southern.
I was just trying to do the most non-Bill Cosby I could muster for myself. Gas, let's open it. Clare, interesting. Very interesting. Never mind. There's the gas.
Yeah, too early to call that, man. But maybe he won't go for the Reaper. No, that's believing too heavily.
I'm too tired here. Like, I just called it how I saw it, and I honestly saw it as no gas, and then, oh wait, crap, you're at like 12 supply still. Never mind.
Oh, this is, yeah. Well, we got a single gas geyser over here from Viper, which is a little bit different. No second gas geyser being thrown down just quite yet, and actually adding on the second gateway already, and this is the thing, yeah, I think we've seen this before. I don't think that the Cybernetics core will be delayed over here for Riper. He's going to have just enough minerals to throw down a Cybernetics core as soon as that gateway finishes. And, yeah, you can get out 2 gateways before the Cybernetics core now. Interesting.
But one of those could have been the gateway. I mean, one of them could have been the Cybernetics core, though.
No, because the gateway hadn't finished up. You can't throw it down yet.
Oh, it hadn't? No, maybe you're right then.
Yeah. He threw down the
that's
Cybernetics
off one
core
gas.
like,
That is off one gas, though. Yeah.
But I think this is an effective way to open up with really quick Adepts, just because the Adepts you can start up the Adepts almost, like 2 Adepts at a time, almost immediately when that Cybernetics core finishes up. You really don't need that much gas to build the Adepts, and you might end up seeing, yep, 2 Adepts immediately starting up. 3rd gateway on the way as well. This is almost definitely going to be some really heavy Adept pressure.
That looks like exactly what it'll be, and finally will this Reaper maybe get to scout his heart out. Kind of doubt it. We'll have to see, though. No, it will be able to get into inside. I did not realize.
I actually like the way that Clare handled the Reaper last game, where you go in, you try not to commit, and as soon as you see any of those pylons, just back up and just say, well, I'm just going to.
He's like trying to go around
you
all
went in too
possible
deep.
pylons.
You went too deep. Oh my God, he managed to make it out.
It was such a late photon overcharge, but there's a possibility of a second one, or I guess just to die to the what's it called, repulsor cannon.
Oh, don't die to the mothership core. That would just be such an unbelievable waste of keeping that Reaper alive.
It's a repulsor cannon, not a mothership core. Repulsor cannon. And then we just have shield upgrade.
Yeah. Reaper can go back in, though, later on and just cause havoc, start harassing workers later on. But I think that the Reaper did get a scout off on not a whole lot.
Oh, the Adepts. We've kind of been whiffing our job here.
Already there. I did not anticipate them being at the other side of the map already, but it looks like one of the Adepts may get cleaned up by the Reaper. But, oh, geez, this is... I don't know how effective this has been for Clare to, like, defend with. He's already down to workers.
5 kills, but he lost all his Marines Marauders. So, we'll see. We'll see actually how this works out.
Ooh.
There's no more aggression off the back of this, so those would pretty much just send 2 Adepts over.
Did Warpgate technology never get started? Warpgate technology just got started! That was an important part about this push. That was kind of an important part about the Adept push. Was getting
Especially with the proxy pylon. I like how I think Riper only noticed that after he threw down the proxy pylon. I was like, okay, let's do this guy.
I think Riper noticed it after he started the shield upgrade for his Adepts from the Twilight Council. Oh, this is a little bit painful, but you know, it's still gonna potentially have that big surge of Adepts. I mean, honestly, with the warp-in time also being factored in, for, you know, when you try and use that proxy pylon without any additional gateway over there to make it a quicker warp-ins. I don't know if he's going to have that many fewer Adepts. It's going to be hitting
it's
later.
27 the second. It's 27. Actually, it's 16 seconds plus cooldown. So it could, yeah, you may be right. Just not quite in the optimal position.
Yeah, and I think that it's he's gonna be able to push in with Adept Shields upgrade this time, and he's still throwing down the Chronoboost on that Warp Gate constantly, so he's gonna get it out at least a little bit faster than he otherwise normally would. So I think that he still has an opportunity to maybe do some kind of damage here.
Yeah, he definitely does have the opportunity to do it, but it's gonna be through some drop. He can't attack the main, but the nice thing is, at least for his opponent Clare's, he still does not know about that back base and is honestly looking to attack into the natural, where the natural is non-existent except for a third base for Clare. It's going to kind of play it interestingly. This is 2-2. Whoever wins will move on. I guess the big tournament here. But Clare not only now is going to be able to defend it, all his upgrades are on the way though, and really, if that gateway had
Warp Gate.
If the Warp Gate would have been done right there, you could have hit a fantastic timing where 1-1 was not done, neither was there Marauders with concussive shells, combat shield stims, but for now, I guess the preemptive Guardian Shield going down.
Yeah, man, he is ready for battle. He wants to get things started, but Stargate coming out, and I guess, I almost kind of wonder, is Riper's just going for these Stargate Void Rays just to try and hard counter the Siege Tanks that he thinks are probably going to be made? Just because they've been made in every other game, because this is the one game that we're not seeing siege tanks. We're seeing widow mines.
Yeah, this is the one game we're not quite seeing those siege tank. Let's see how it actually works out. It maybe I guess because of void rays, but that wasn't really a tell, or at least Clare was not able to scout that out of.
I like seeing less of the siege tanks because it means that more of the Marauders are able to be produced, and even Widow Mines are going to be a really, really nice adaptation versus the Adept. But the Marauders alone, like, they don't take that extra damage versus the Adepts. They don't get two-shotted by them, so they can soak up a lot more hits. And they just seem way, way more effective versus the Adepts. Like, they might not do extra damage versus Adepts, but they certainly survive long enough to actually combat them.
Yep, the juke, or at least faking the main, won't work out because there is a drop in the back of Riper's base. I don't think it's actually going to get anything here. There could be more flipping overcharges go off, but
feedback plus flipping overcharge.
That one high Templar right there is the bomb. You didn't even get a kill for it, by the way. that was all just like it was all just assumed.
He's playing a MOBA, he's playing like Dota or League of Legends, and he's the person that does like 95% of the damage, and then one random teammate just like happens to show up nearby the fight and hits the other person like one time. It's like, oh hey, cool, I got a kill. And I was like, you kill stealer. I did all the work for it. Well, High Templar will eventually have enough energy to maybe get some kills of his own with Psystorm, but it doesn't look like it, as he's kind of trying to run headlong into the fight. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to do a whole lot, but I mean, the Voiders are actually focus firing down these Marauders for the most part. Not quite focus firing down at the end, but the Adepts are going to be enough to clean up the Marines that are left over.
Yeah, Widowmine shots were decent. I think I did like them, as you're mentioning, Fear Dragon over the Siege Tanks, but still not quite fantastic. After all this, Clare will have to pull back, and is now going to have to deal with this third, or these three Zealots warping into his third base, which was taken as his natural. Surprisingly enough, that didn't really, I don't know if I want to say it didn't help him a lot, but it didn't really throw off, I always forget his name. Oh, actually, Friendly Fire goes down and loses. It didn't really throw off Riper that much. Friendly Fire goes down, does lose a couple SCVs here, but it's going to have to be careful and pull back. Is Charge done, by the way? Charge is done.
Yeah, Charge is
Sadly, it was nerfed, though. It was not quite as OP as it was before.
Did he research Charge?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, he did. All right.
I don't even know what this man researched. It should just all be auto research.
Well, we do have +1 weapons already finished up for Clare, and with +1 armor finishing up as well, he's going to have a nice little upgrade lead for at least a little bit. +1/+1 is going up right now for Riper, but he's going to end up losing his Nexus over here, and Void Ray plus Photon Overcharge do manage to clean up one of those medevacs and make Clare pay just a little bit. Oh my god, there's so many Photon Overcharges down on so many pylons, but... Oh. These Widow Mines are still alive. These Widow Mines are gonna have a golden opportunity to kill a lot of probes, I think.
One, two,
Kill a couple.
Three. Still pretty good though.
Yeah.
At the same time though, Riper's trying to end this currently, guys. That is 2-2. There is a Zealot counterattack into the third base right now, trying to do as much damage. This majority of the army is with those two-shotting Marauders, but now half the army, and actually I guess a third of the army now, is at this natural base defending with beautiful force fields and amazing storms actually. We'll just clean up that entire army, but does Riper actually have enough just ground forces? He's got the Adepts, he's got the High Templars, but all the storms are gone, and now he's fighting up a ram.
Yeah, I almost feel like he should try and consider making an Archon or something just to soak up a couple more of those hits. The Void Ray is also going to get focus fired down by those Marines, and the Adepts going down as well. Riper had lost his third expansion, so he really needs to make some kind of counter damage happen. And I mean, the Zealots moving in once again, they've been doing a lot of damage to these SCVs, especially with the friendly fire splash damage, but has it been enough to equalize? He's ahead in workers, and it's still getting worker kills with these Zealots at a really, really awkward angle, but I don't know.
Yep. See if it is enough to equalize. Currently at the moment, how many? 17 workers to 17 killed, actually, completely even. So even though both have done a lot of little harassment here, at least the majority of Riper has with those Zealots, it's pretty even.
Yep.
He's moving up though, and I mean, realistically, it's all going to come down to the storms. Does he have the hero storms?
Oh, that's a hero storm if I've ever seen one.
He has the hero storms. Yep.
Doesn't have any more though. He's all out. That could be a bit of a problem. There's only one High Templar left over, and he only has 20 energy. There's not even any Photon Overcharges being thrown down. I guess the Mothership Core got... no, the Mothership Core's still there. It's just been over the third expansion and completely out of position to defend over here. Widow Mine's also going to go completely uncontested. It's just really no detection over here. And oh man, Riper might be finally at the end of his rope in game number 5. Well...
Yeah, he's looking pretty close to it. He's currently 2-2. Riper desperately trying to hold on, maybe a little bit overcommitting, over-aggressive in that attack we just saw just a couple minutes ago. But now Clare, he smells the blood in the water, and he's going for the kill. He wants to qualify. He's played so well through this tournament, and even the chat was earlier saying that, you know what, Clare, they thought Clare was going to make it through, and good luck, good GG, well played. Clare moves on beautifully.
Clare going to be moving on to the group stages of